Okay, most of you work in learning. Tell me if this sounds typical. You get a request, usually a one-line email from leadership or an executive saying, we need learning in X, thanks. And you go away, you use all your expertise to put something together which is going to be perfect. You find a good supplier, you come back, you've got learning objectives, everything is exactly what they wanted. But then they have requests, they have data that they want, proofs that they need, then they want to have meetings, the pointless questions, and at the end of it, they say, oh yeah, things have moved on actually, we can come back to it next quarter. So annoying. And I come across this as well. I work as a trainer in storytelling and communication. And the reason I think that this is happening is that we're talking to leadership at the level that they're asking us to, rather than the level that they mean. I'll explain what I mean by that in a second, but this mistake, I think, is the reason that learning is too often treated as a cost center and not an investment, and learning professionals are sometimes treated like order takers and not strategic partners, which you all deserve to be. Now, I think that executives perceive value, we all do, in 4 levels. Consider it like concentric frames like this. And on the outer level, you have the actions. Yeah? This is what they're asking for. The training, the workshops, the coaching, the learning initiatives, what you can see, what they're usually asking you for. Then within that, they have the way that you're going to back it up, which is the data. This is where we have lots of acronyms, OKRs, KPIs, all that kind of stuff. And I think the problem that we have in learning is that we're only really engaging executives at these 2 levels, whereas executives are thinking a level deeper. They're thinking about story, which you can think of as like the journey that we're on, the vision, the steps that you're taking to get there. And within that, a layer deeper, which is a little bit hard to get to sometimes, you have the core, the kind of strategic core. And I like to think of this as like a question that a company answers with every action. So a very easy example, Patagonia, always answering the question of business versus planet and choosing planet. So the challenge I think that we have is that in learning, we're talking about the actions, what we're going to deliver, and we're trying to back it up with data. But the problem with data, nothing against it, but there's never enough of it. It can always be cheaper, it can always be shorter, and you could always have more data to make it more certain that you're going to be right at the end. It is not the language of executives, it's the language of middle management. So I think we need to switch things around and actually start by communicating from the in outwards. So instead of, for instance, let's train 24 managers in influence and we help to get X satisfaction score and Y productivity gain. That's just really only talking about these. We can say something along the lines of, we understand you're moving from centralized to distributed leadership, and for that you need influence, not authority. Right now, 40% of escalations are unnecessary, so we want to give your leaders the tools to overcome that. You see the difference? One of them is engaging them at the level that they're talking about, and they're not even going to ask about the investment of time or money, because that's the language of transformation. Now, I've put together, it's going to be a little bit tricky to do, maybe later we can do it, but I've got a 2-page little document that you can check out. I've got a QR code here that you can scan with the framework and some questions to help you begin to ask these prompts. But I think more important than that is whenever you're talking to leadership, just stop and ask yourself, what level are we communicating at right now, and what level do they need to be communicated with? Thanks.